Pittsburgh Steeler fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. This is behind the steel curtain editor Dave Schofield coming at you once again. It's Tuesday night. It's just after 9 o'clock. If you're a Steelers fan, where else would you rather be? This is a very special day, a very special episode that I'm going to be doing with me, as always, my big brother, Rich. Rich, how are you tonight?
I'm here.
Here. Now, because it's a very special episode. You teased it last week. You said that I'm going to have to sing. Correct. And as much as I wanted to sing more of There's Only One Way to Mock, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, that's the tune busted out by Kyle Kreis every week now on What Yin's Talking About. He does that one live. My favorite's still the QB22, Where Are You? But that one's pre-recorded. But I got to sing because today is a very special day. Today just so happens to be the day that my big brother turns years old. I don't know if I didn't want to take it to say it, but I have to say happy birthday, Rich.
And today his back is feeling every bit of that years old.
What's really nice is for 13 days, you get to be 5 years older than me.
Yeah.
So until I catch up, we do share the same month of our birth. Sometimes we had to have combo birthday parties growing up. That was always loads of fun, wasn't it? But we didn't really have much of birthday parties. I'm not extravagant birthday parties, just getting together with family. Anyway, I digress. Rich, I got to ask. Do you want the Marilyn Monroe? Do you want the Elvis? Or do you want the Pearl Jam?
Oh, wow. Well, let's see. You know what? Seeing how I once at a conference, we were playing Rock Band, and a friend of mine, I said I could sing any song on there, and he made me sing No Doubt's I'm Just a Girl. Which, by the way, I rocked. Let's go with Marilyn Monroe, please.
Okay, here we go. I got to get in character. All right, here we go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, big bro. Okay. So hopefully we didn't lose everybody right there. Hopefully we did all right. So there we are. So happy birthday.
Yeah, you know what? Let me tell you, I'm going to go ahead and give my shout out today because I do now share my birthday with two family members.
Yes, you do.
Our sister, Alita, aka Fred, her youngest set of twins, Wade and Rosie. They share a birthday with me, and it was hilarious. They called and sang to me earlier today, and when they finished, I was at work, and my daughter was there with me. Alex was there because she had class, and they sang to me, and then Alex and I sang to them. It was hilarious.
You go. Well, I was saving this special for you tonight on the show. I did not spoil it by having the kids sing to you earlier or anything like that, but they did call in order to sing to their cousins today. So that's just what we did. That's just kind of how our family rolls.
All right, it's Cree.
Okay.
Cree asked, Cree, because it's you, I will answer.
That you're years old?
I am 48 years old today.
You're 48. Okay. Yeah. See, I'm disappointed because in 13 days, when I have to turn another year older, I'm going to forget again. I've remembered this entire year because I just remember I'm Palomalo. So that's why you've got the 5 years on me for now. But I guess I'll catch up quick. Sorry that we've taken a while to get into the show for this reason, but it's a special day. We knew it was going to be this way. And this is a family show, and we've definitely got to make sure that we are enjoying our family time. So I'm very glad that you all in the live chat had to suffer through that rendition. But that's because you're part of our family too. Let's talk about our Steelers family. Let's talk about what's going on here with Pittsburgh. There's not really any news going on. The the biggest, I mean, the Steelers, they brought back Carl Joseph. That's someone to check off the list of something we'll talk about tonight. They signed Jannard Avery. Did that happen since our last show?
Oh,
I can't remember or not because of where it is.
No, I'm thinking it happened last. If I remember, I think it actually happened last Tuesday. We just didn't. Of course, we knew nothing about what it was.
Yes, and we still don't know what the contract is. I'm still operating under the assumption that it's one of those. Since it's a 1-year deal, the Steelers haven't been doing those with outside free agents. That I think it's going to qualify as the. Now I can't remember the exact words of the veteran benefit salary. The way it works is the Steelers can pay them more money and have them count less money on the salary cap, so much so he's not even going to change anything. That's what it was with Carl Joseph. I had that article up. Was that today? That was today.
Yeah, it was this morning.
On BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. That I did that update to say that the number hadn't changed. We're just waiting for Avery. Now, the other news, whether you call it news or not, is one of the Steelers players from 2021 did sign somewhere else. We don't have the details of that or anything, but it looks like we are not celebrating our Taco Tuesday. Taco Charlton has moved on, but with the signing of Avery, not really surprised there. A lot of Steelers fans thought maybe he could come back and compete, but he might have felt that he had a better opportunity in New Orleans. Not exactly sure. So that's really it. But those kind of lead into our question tonight. I'm ready to jump right in. Are you ready to jump right in?
Why not? Let's go for it.
Yeah, what we're going to jump into is we're going to talk about those players. And honestly, I came up with this show before this happened with Taco, so it kind of changed a little bit. What players that are still free agents that were with the Steelers last year do you think could maybe show up in training camp? Some of them could be the bigger names. Some of them could be show up in Steelers training camp. I want to say show up in Latrobe, but we don't know that yet. So I might as well knock that out. People can say that.
I didn't get to go last year, and which ended up being okay. They didn't get a Latrobe because the guy I was supposed to go with ended up right before then moving to Florida, but he's now moving back. And I talked to him just yesterday, and he and I are already planning that they are in Latrobe. We are taking a day and going.
There you go. I'm hoping that's the case. I had a feeling that if we start talking about being in training camp, someone would ask it in the live chat eventually. So we're just being a little proactive to say that hopeful. Believe it or not, Bob Labriola talked about that in his Asked and Answered column this morning on Steelers.com. That someone asked, has there been an announcement? And he's like, no, it's not one way or the other. And you're probably not going to get that for a while. I don't see any reason why the NFL would deny them this year with everything being backed off with everything with the COVID protocols. But there's still a lot of time until those decisions are made for sure. So, crossing our fingers, hopeful that it's back to a normal Steelers training camp. Because what's crazy is you've got a player like Chase Claypool. He's going into his 3rd season with the Steelers. Never been to Latrobe. Well, he might have been to Latrobe, but I mean, he's never had training camp at St. Vincent College. Maybe he drove through there on his way to the Beehive. I don't know. I know. Sorry, wrong show. But that's just interesting to think of.
We'll have to ask Bad if he saw him come drive by.
If he saw him coming through. I'm really tempted to go. This should be an article for the site I might have to do. I might have to go into the site, look at the roster and say, all right, how many players on the Steelers roster have actually been to training camp at St. Vincent?
Yeah,
that's an interesting thing. I mean, what percentage?
There you go. There's your stat geek.
Well, who knows? Maybe that will be Stat Geek this week, or at least part of it. So, but if that's the case, I'm also making sure that's an article as well.
Yep.
But what we're going to look at is we're going to say we've talked enough about training camp. The word training camp's in the title, so we were allowed to talk about it, right?
Right.
They're right. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at players that were on the Steelers that were free agents and haven't signed. And the question is, could you see something happening where they end up back in Pittsburgh? We're going to knock the big one out first.
Sure.
Because it's the one that is the big question, the big debate, and the one that could be drawing a bigger contract. You know, when I say bigger, meaning it's not going to be like, I'll bring him back for a vet minimum. That's not going to happen here. Or at least I don't think it will. And that is safety Terrell Edmonds. Safety Terrell Edmonds. The question is, what are the Steelers going to do with the strong safety position? He's in a whole different category than everyone else. Don't you think?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, because he's the starter at the position where the Steelers haven't filled it, but he hasn't signed somewhere else. And the question is he coming back to Pittsburgh? So, Rich, let's ask, do you think Terrell Edmonds is in the black and gold next year?
60% says yes.
60% says yes. That's a good percentage. I think that's a good percentage. What's going to be disappointing is if Edmonds signs somewhere else and the Steelers haven't signed another strong safety.
Yes.
You know, it's a timing thing. If
Yes.
the Steelers aren't going to sign Edmonds, I hope they sign somebody else before Edmonds signs somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Because talk about the panic button going off in Pittsburgh. Don't you think so?
Yeah. Look, this also wouldn't surprise me if this is the way the Steelers are dealing with Terrell Edmonds. Okay. I have a feeling right now the Steelers put an offer on the table to Terrell Edmonds.
Yeah, that's been reported that they have,
right.
but
we would like to bring
have.
right. We would like to bring you back for this. But here's what we're asking. Go see what anybody else is willing to offer you. We just ask that if they offer you something, come back to us and let us see if we can match it.
Yes, because we might be able to pull it off. This is what we can do right now, you know. And it's funny because I know Edmonds had a cryptic tweet of decisions a couple days ago. But then it's also been someone else reported that he doesn't have another offer from anyone other than the Steelers. I don't know. It's all speculation with a lot of this stuff. So we can see how it all plays out. Some people are like, no, don't bring him back. I just think it's ironic that so many in Steelers Nation was so down on him for the longest time because he wasn't living up to being a first-round draft pick, which was not his doing. He wasn't even expected to go then. Really, you know, there's still the story that he was in the bathroom when he was going to be drafted. Don't know if that's true, but I've heard Jeff Hartman refer to that. So I'll lay that on Jeff's credibility. So there's a lot of things going on. And then someone in the live chat says, Honey Badger's going to New Orleans. No, he was in New Orleans to visit family and went by the facility, and he left there with nothing imminent. Yep. So just because he went and talked doesn't mean that he did anything. So that's not the case. And even if that is the case, that's a tough one still, because he doesn't fit the mold of what the Steelers try to do based on his age, based on his years in the league, and things of that nature. Do you see, if the Steelers would bring in Honey Badger, do you see that as an upgrade? Or are you worried more about the cost over or cost above replacement, meaning spending more than what you would actually get in production?
You know what? The whole time since this talk has started on this, I've not been totally sure where I stand on this whole thing.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I'm not necessarily against it, but I'm not really sold on it either.
Yeah. I am of the opinion that what the Steelers decide is fine with me. If they decide, no, we're not going there, I'm not going to be with those people. Oh, why wouldn't you just pony up the money and blah, blah. No. And if they decide that that's something that they want to pull a trigger on because they think that's a good fit, they know more about the chemistry of their team than we ever will know.
Yep.
And if they think that fits well with the chemistry of their team and what they want to do, and for the price that they're willing to pay at the position, that's different. Then, you know, a lot of people were speculating, oh, well, this comes down to Minka's deal. If they're waiting for Minka's deal, I'm not expecting any kind of extension with Minkah Fitzpatrick until September. I'm not. I mean, if it happens before then, great, grand. But I'm not panicking about that until September. We saw how it went down with TJ Watt. When Cam Hayward got his last extension, guess what it was? September. When Stephon Tua got an extension several years ago, guess what had happened? September. That's often when these things happen when it comes to those. So that's why I'm kind of leaving that. But we thought we'd knock this topic out at the beginning. My thing that I say about Edmonds is this: the last thing I want the Steelers to do at safety is to downgrade, to have the position filled because you couldn't keep a player and you have someone of a cheaper contract than it would have been to keep him, or and possibly less production filling in that position. You know how Edmonds works. Edmonds is the known commodity. You know how he works with Minkah. You know how that situation's going. So if the known commodity is the best course, go for it. Go for it. Yep. So, he's younger. And the thing is, I mentioned this on another show with here, like Jim Rugger brought this up. He said Edmonds is 25, Matthew is turning 30 in May. I'm going to assume that those numbers are correct. They sound correct. So I'm going to go with those. And it might have even been on this show that I asked you, or it might have been a different one. I can't remember. They're all blurring together. It might have been one of those Q&As. If Edmonds is 25 and he's still improving, and Honey Badger is 30 and might be on the decline because he hasn't been, people are already saying he's on the decline. At what point would they cross? And would it be a point that would cover this contract?
Yep. Great question. Mm-hmm. Now the question is, what is the Steelers front office and coaching staff? Mm-hmm. What are their thoughts?
Yeah.
Where do they see those lines crossing?
Exactly. Because I just don't want to then spend a bunch of money on someone who has a better history that when they come to Pittsburgh, you'd never see anything close to that. I'm still burnt by Dante Moncrief and Ladarius Green. When it comes to free agents, I still remember those too much, and you're not going to hit on all of them. So that's just kind of how it goes. So I'm in favor of a Terrell Edmonds return. But if not, I want the Steelers to do what they believe is an upgrade, and not something where it's downgrading the position. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
So you say 60%. Yep. I won't give the same answer. I'll go 65.
Yeah, I thought about going a little higher too. But I was comfortable with what I said based on the timing of when we're doing this show.
Yeah. And like here, George Teston says, I hope they sign Edmonds and draft a safety. I don't. Because I actually did this article for the website, and I'm like, if the Steelers get their starting strong safety, do they need anything more at the position? Because honestly, if you look at it, they have Miles Killebrew as the backup and special teams player. He's going nowhere. They've got Trey Norwood that did very well as a 7th-round rookie last year. The Steelers are sometimes only keep 4 safeties and at most 5. And you still have Carl Joseph, who was on the practice squad last year. After training camp, could he be on the? So I don't feel like you need to bring in another safety because they're not. I mean, I can't think of a time they've ever kept more than 5. They probably have, but generally they go with 10 defensive backs, and it's either 5 and 5 between corner and safety, or 6 and 4 with 6 being the corners, because you don't want to have just 4 corners on your roster. So to me, I'm saying that if you draft another safety particularly high, then you're at a position of, oh, we've got too many people here. If they all do well, but that's just me. But I mean, even if they did it, I'm not going to be upset. I just don't know that they will. Yeah. So we've hit the big one. Anything else you want to say on Edmonds?
No. Because he's the one we talk about the most.
Exactly. So let's talk about this, and I'm going to actually do this maybe with some lesser names and build up with the free agents with the Steelers that they could bring out. So I'm going to start with this one. I'm using a list that's on overthecap.com. So if I miss somebody or something's incorrect, you can blame them. Like they still don't have Taco Charlton down that he's gone to New Orleans, but I already know that I'm not going to talk about him. So I'm starting at the bottom of their list. I'm not counting where they have a couple exclusive rights free agents that the Steelers didn't necessarily bring back, like practice squad guys like DeMarcus AC, and another DeMarcus Christmas, who was on IR all last year as a defensive lineman. Well, we're just not going to go there. I'm going to go guys that were actually on the 53 last year. So let's go with this one. Kalen Ballage. Running back Kalen Ballage, not under contract. Is that a player you think you could see the Steelers bringing back?
There's a chance, but I'm leaning more towards not bringing him back.
Same here. What's your reasoning? And then I'll give mine.
You've got big money to be is the biggest thing.
Well, I mean, he could always be a minimum guy that just comes to camp that might not make the team.
True.
You could do that.
You've already got, you've still got Benny Snow and Ant Mac on their rookie deals.
Yeah.
So, that's why I lean towards there being a greater chance him not being in Steeler training camp.
Exactly. And to me, I would much rather get someone who's a little bit more established in the league that's still floating out there. Names are going in and out. I know one of the ones that was popular with Brian Anthony Davis, he liked Marlon Mack, but I know he signed somewhere. I was thinking it was there was South. It was a Southern team. Like it might have been the Texans, someone like that. And Philip Lindsay's another name that's been out there. If they're going to bring in someone, I would rather actually have it be an upgrade. And I don't think Ballage is an upgrade over Snell.
Right.
So to me, if you're going to do that, I just, if someone's dinged up at training camp and things like that, and you really need another body in there, and he still hasn't signed with anybody. Oh, someone said that Max signed with the Texans. Okay. Thank you. I would say if you need another body for something like that, but I don't think I would bring him back with any kind of, plans that he's definitely going to make the roster again.
Right.
So it's not out of the question, but I just don't see it. Here's another one. Guard/center BJ Finney.
You know what? As much as this will pain, Brian Anthony Davis for not being able to wear the Finney pants, I don't think we see Finney back.
I don't think we'll see Finney.
I don't think we'll see Finney back in the NFL. I think he's
probably not. He did not have a good year in 2020. 2021, he came back with the Steelers, but then ended up, getting hurt out of the league. I don't know the extent of it was a neck injury, right? I'm pretty sure that I don't know how serious it is. Maybe between that and the interest, it might just be time for him to hang it up. He got a pretty decent deal in 2020 that he got paid. Made all right money for an undrafted guy getting a second contract in the league, even though it didn't pay out to there. So I'm kind of in the same boat. If you keep bringing back all the same guys and at a position where you struggle, how can you really expect to get better?
Right, exactly.
So that's my thoughts there on Finney. So let's keep rolling through this list. All right, can cross out Taco Charlton. He's not there. Here's someone who was he's gone and visited a couple places. Most recently, that disgusting purple team to the east of me, and that is one quarterback, Joshua Dobbs. You think there's any chance that he ends up in training camp?
I don't think so. Because I think he was there more. Mm-hmm. I think, like last year he was, and the year before, he was there more for Ben than anything.
Yeah. I could see it under a very specific set of circumstances. That's me. So If the Steelers don't draft a quarterback in this coming draft, and I only want them to draft a quarterback if the draft falls right. I don't want them to force it. I know. That's one thing Michael Beck's really into about. I mean, he is so convinced that the Steelers are drafting a quarterback. It's like you've got to think of other possibilities here at times. That now he's like, well, should they need to start prepare to be settling for the next level of quarterback at 20. I'm like, that's how you get an Artie Burns pick. That's how you get an Artie Burns pick, is you have to settle for the next level because you've locked into your position. Don't do that. If the right guy's not there that you think is really the answer, and it's, doing due diligence about the quarterback position doesn't mean that they're going to draft one. It means they've got to be prepared to know if it's the right move.
Right.
That's doing due diligence about going to the pro days and everything else. They might decide that there's only one or two quarterbacks worth taking in this draft, and but they're not worth moving up for. And if they're not there, then they're done. But I think then the Steelers would pick up. They are going to have a rookie quarterback, maybe not all the way to training camp, but they're at least going to have one for rookie minicamp. You've got to have one. Yep. If you don't draft one, you're picking up an undrafted guy. Doesn't mean that he gets signed to the 53 or not 50 or to the 53. Doesn't mean he gets signed to the 90-man roster. It could just be a rookie invite, tryout to rookie camp. But they're going to have a quarterback there. If that doesn't work out and Dobbs is still out there and they need another arm for camp, I could see it, but it would have to be that very specific situation.
Yes.
Yeah. So to me, the odds of that situation happening are low, but if it does, then the odds of it being Josh Dobbs, I think, is high if he's still out there. So, yeah. All right. Anything else you want to say about Dobbs, or did I dabble on about quarterback for a while? I'm sorry. It's just kind of how I am. The next person on my list was Terrell Edmonds, who we already discussed. If you're just joining us, we've already covered Edmonds. That was the big one. Okay. I'm moving on up. Trey Turner.
Nope. Trey Turner's gone.
I don't see it either. I mean, I think Trey Turner is even a guy. I mean, they picked him up late last year. There's a reason you could pick someone up late. I still see Trey Turner, rather than taking a vet minimum to end up in training camp, waiting until you get into the season and a team gets decimated with injury and seeing if he could catch on there.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yep.
So I definitely don't think he's a training camp guy. If the Steelers have to bring in Turner, things aren't going well, especially on the injury front. That's my opinion.
Exactly.
So that's what I would say. So that's kind of the scenario you have there, especially since the Steelers, added two interior guys already in free agency. So it kind of makes that there. So now we get to this one. What about Zach Banner?
I think he's definitely got a lot more potential than, either the other two offensive linemen we've already talked about.
I do too. The problem with Banner wasn't. I mean, the problem was his availability. The Steelers would love to have a flyer on Zach Banner, and he already did his video to say goodbye to Pittsburgh. You go ahead before I say it.
I think it depends on how things fall in the draft as to whether or not Banner would be re-signed and brought in for camp.
Yeah, and I think it would be.
I think it would be a vet minimum.
I think if no one, honestly, I could see in July, camp is approaching. No one's picked up Zach Banner. If the Steelers would say, hey, you want to still show what you can do, there's no guarantee you're going to make the team, but you still want to show teams you can play. We've got 3 preseason games.
Come on,
minimum. Here you go.
Yep.
That's something I could see. So, but if he signs somewhere else, great for him.
Yep.
Great for him.
Exactly.
So, but to me, the biggest thing with Zach Banner, would be if they draft a tackle, then I don't even know that there'd still be room for him. Because I mean,
that's exactly
you got
what I was thinking.
Joe Haig, you've got Chaz Green that was on the practice squad last year. You know, with the other two you already have. Then if they draft a tackle at any point, it would be really tough. But at the same time, if he's just out there working out on his own and not with the team in training camp, you know, where else, you know, that would be a better place for him than anywhere else to go for a minimum deal, just because of the familiarity. So that's about all I could see there. Love me, Zach Banner is the person. Met a guy at a conference recently that actually does the drug testing for the Steelers, and said about how not only is Zach Banner an enormous guy, he's one of the few people in the NFL that would dwarf you, meaning me, you know, because I'm a pretty big dude, but I think he said he made Joe Haig look like he was a fullback and not a lineman. Just because of how big he is. Love the person. Wish it would have worked out better for him, but man, injuries can really get you. Ready for the next one?
Yeah, we're rolling.
This is an intriguing one. Eric Ebron.
No.
Nope,
don't see it. No, I think, Muth is by far the number one. And
he would be no matter what.
That, what's his
Gentry.
name? Yeah. Proved when at times last year that he could be a very viable number two.
Yeah.
I see no reason for Ebron to be back.
The only reason I would say to bring Ebron back would be on basically a vet minimum deal or close to that. And it would be because the Steelers don't have as many wide receivers right now if they wanted to use more multiple tight end sets and have him be someone who could line up in the slot. Shockingly. And yet you could still bring him in and try to run the ball. I don't know that he's the best fit for that. I could see them trying to make some possibilities, but it would be for low. And if he signs with someone else, he signs with someone else. So his last play with the Steelers was a touchdown. So that's interesting. So but once again, I feel like most of these players right now would be like, don't even know if you'd make the team. But we've got a couple more intriguing ones. There's technically 3 names on the list. I'm going to jump to the top name on the list because it doesn't really count. And that's technically because Ben Roethlisberger's still on the list because he would have been a free agent. And I don't know paperwork wise and everything else. But so that's marked off. Do you see Ben Roethlisberger trading camp?
Maybe to show up in shorts and a t-shirt and hang out, but not as a Steeler.
See the guys, but not on the roster. Yeah, that weird.
He could show up as
on the list. I told everyone where I was using the list. I wanted to say that's what was going on.
He might show up at training camp as a former Steeler, but not as a current Steeler.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yep.
All right. So two left.
2 left. You ready? And people should know who they are. One is an unrestricted free agent. The other is a street free agent. Let's go street free agent first. That would be Joe Schobert. If no one's, Miles Jack was cut by the Jaguars. A lot of interest. Steelers were in on that. They got him. Steelers then released Joe Schobert. I haven't heard anything about him. I really don't. The Steelers, he was the leading tackler on the team last year. The Steelers, is it going to be Vince Williams 2.0, but without the retirement? Where, sorry, we can't pay you this much. We have to let you go. And then later on, hey, no one else is picking up. Why don't you come back and play with us for the minimum?
intriguing, but don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't know that he would. I would say someone else would pick him up. For that reason, when you're cut like that, when you got multiple years left on your contract, that makes it that makes it a whole different scenario, in my opinion, to come back. Because he had multiple years on his contract.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't. We're not going to say it's impossible. I just don't really see it happening.
I just don't see it. Don't see it.
Yeah. So I can agree. And last but not least, one of my favorites, Joe Hayden. Yeah.
That one has got a little more chance that it could potentially happen.
Yeah.
If Joe Hayden feels I'm not done, I've still got, if nobody's coming up with any kind of offers and Joe Hayden's like, hey, I'm not done. There could be a chance.
Yeah.
That he would come back because he's enjoyed playing for the Steelers.
I think the biggest thing when it comes to Joe Hayden is how much does he want to keep playing versus how much money he could make.
Right.
He's made a lot of money. He was one of the top paid corners last year. Does he really want to come back for a fraction of that? Does he really want to come back and not have as much? Like Ben Roethlisberger last year, people want to say, "Oh, well, we still counted 23-some million on the cap." The cap hit and how much you make is not the same thing. They are not the same thing. Okay, Ben Roethlisberger didn't make nearly as much. He didn't make as much cash last year as what he normally did during seasons. And he took a $5 million pay cut. Does Joe Hayden want to do that?
It really comes down to what else is Joe Hayden planning on doing. If Joe Hayden is just if I'm not playing football this year, I have no clue what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be playing football. Then he does.
Yeah.
But if Joe Hayden's got other options and says, you know what, I'd like to continue playing football, but I don't have to. I got other things. Then you don't see Joe Hayden.
Yeah. So that I want to say, but I've got to set it up a little bit. So I'll do a little plug here. Make sure you're checking out all of our other podcasts, not just our YouTube and Facebook live podcast. For those of you here in the live chat, you are missing out on so much content if you're not checking out the audio that we have. Go anywhere you get podcasts. I know Apple Podcasts is the big one, but what's Spotify, Pandora, whatever those other ones are. I don't know because I do Apple. But Jeff lists them off a lot. Make sure you check those out because that's where my stat geek is that you referenced at the beginning. We've got, Jeffrey Benedict's cutting room floor. It's part of the morning lineup, the whole noon lineup. I mentioned what Ian's talking about earlier in the show. That's where they are. And also Jeff Hartman's Let's Ride on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. On Monday, on his Monday morning conversation this past week. So I did all that just to set this up so I could tell you something was said there. He had on Jim Wexell, who is the author of the book Palomalu. He also writes, I don't want to mess up who he writes for, so I'm not even going to say it. But he's, a beat reporter for the Steelers. Was probably out of all of them he was the closest to Troy Polamalu, hence why he wrote the book. But Jeff was just asking him various things, and he was talking about some of the good locker room guys the Steelers had and just being good guys. And one of those that he mentioned is like that he's going to miss, but he's like, I don't know, he's still out there, so maybe there's a chance, was Joe Hayden. And just so much that he brought to the team and just one of those great locker room guys. I can tell you right now, Joe Hayden is better than Justin Lane. Joe Hayden is better than James Pierre. Oh, sorry, Lustin Jane. And he's better than I still think he's got more in him than James Pierre. Now, is he better than any of the other guys that are going to be seeing the field with the Steelers? No. Would they be better off? Well, when I say no, I'm like, it's not definitive. That's the answer. That's the word I'm looking for. Not that he's not. It's not definitive. But he was dealing with a lot towards, with the concussion, come back from injuries. I still continue to say, my goodness, the Steelers' record without Joe Hayden, they finally won a game last year without Joe Hayden in the lineup, which was the first time in forever. But they lost a lot more than they won. So, but he is getting older. It seems like the Steelers timed the contract right based on last year's play, but Joe might still want to say that he's got a lot in the tank. And there's a possibility that he could come in and be a part of that secondary in one way or another. So what do you think?
Very possible. Ken, I think it just comes down to what does Joe Hayden really want to do?
Yeah. And if someone else wants to pay him, good for Joe.
Yes.
I wish nothing but the best for Joe Hayden. I really do. But
I remember the celebrating I did the day the Steelers were able to snag him.
Oh, my goodness. I never thought they had a chance.
Oh,
I'm like, that's not the kind of signings the Steelers make. And that's what?
Yep.
So that's why I'm saying it's not like Joe Hayden would have to struggle to make the team. The question is, would he struggle to see the field? And does Joe want to be in a situation that he's still going to have to fight to see the field, or he might only be used in sub-package football or things of that nature? Does he want to play in that role for whatever money the Steelers would be willing to do, which I hope wouldn't be, at most 25% of what he was making. That's what it all comes down to. Right. So I think that's more on Joe. I think you're exactly right. So how they would make that work, I'm not sure. But I mean, just to have that guy in the locker room, there's a lot of stuff to say about that. And that was the last one. Is there anything else you want to say about all of it before we get to our big question?
No, big question time.
Okay. So I'm going to remind you the names real quick that we went over, because it was Joe Hayden, Joe Schobert, Eric Ebron, Zach Banner, Trey Turner, Terrell Edmonds. We talked about him a lot at the beginning. Josh Dobbs, BJ Finney, and Kalen Balazs. Here's the question. That we're going to be bringing up. We're going to rule out Terrell Edmonds.
Yes.
He was the starter at strong safety. The Steelers admit they still don't have a strong safety. That's the easy answer. Other than Terrell Edmonds, of all the players we talked about tonight that were with the Steelers last year that aren't on teams, who do you think is most likely to end up in training camp?
You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think honestly, it could be Joe Hayden.
Ooh, you think it could be Joe Hayden?
Yeah.
Okay.
I could see Joe Hayden say, "I still want to be playing football. I love the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they can give me any kind of a deal, I'm coming." Okay.
I could take that answer. I could go back to my list here. I am going to go with. Let's see. You took my answer, so I'm trying to come up with somebody else.
Oh, I took your good. I'm glad I took your answer.
Yeah, but I still don't know that I see that. You know what? I'm going to say, because of leadership and everything, believe it or not, just because you took Hayden, I want to give someone else. I'll go Eric Ebron. So I just put it up in the chat. It just loaded. I know some people might have answered. I wasn't going to scold everyone, but I'm not bringing up any of your answers until now. Just give me just a name. And Reginald Rivers, he started off with no one.
Okay. Believe it or not, that's a viable answer.
That's not a terrible answer. Okay. Kathy Ford, she says Hayden. And Cree says Hayden. And Robert Doc Holliday. I can't do this right.
Doc Holliday, 66 Sadler.
He says none. Tate Boy says Zach Banner. I almost went Zach Banner. I almost did. Okay. BF Bud says Joe Hayden. Okay. But with a Y. I don't know who that. I'm just kidding, Bud. I'm just messing with you. So every time I type Joe Hayden in an article, it autocorrects to put a Y in his name. So, and yeah. So Steel Dog 88 says Banner. Brian Brown says Hayden. Steeler check. There it is. All right. She says Joe Hayden, and happy birthday, Big Bro Scho.
And happy birthday to you tomorrow, Steeler check.
I was going to skip over because it was more than a name, and then that one was worth it. Okay. Doc Holliday says Ebron. George OTJ says Hayden. Russ Obenstein. Okay. Russ. We just know you as Russ. You're just Russ. Okay. He says Hayden. Harvey Stone Jr. says Hayden. Just Me says Hayden. BMK says Hayden if he's considered switching to strong safety. But if not, none. Never thought of Joe
That's
Hayden
an
as strong
interesting
safety.
take, BMK.
I mean, he does go well in the run. He was a good run stopper, but I don't know if he's that. I'd have to really go back and look at
I'd
his
have to really go back and look at
size and
the
everything to
crazy
see
take.
if that would be crazy or not. But that's interesting.
Interesting take.
Yep. Sherry Richards says Joe. Is that Schobert? I'm assuming that's Hayden. Okay. Eddie Powers says no one. Okay. Steelers Pittsburgh says Hayden. Sean Manahan says Big Ben. Just kidding. It's Hayden. Okay. George Teston. Did some of these people already? I don't know. Said Banner. Demetrios says Hayden. I'm going to bring it up just because I can.
Yeah, because it's fun.
Okay. Brian Blackstock says Dick Shiner. Although I'd have to look back. I'm pretty sure he passed away.
Yeah. He'll be there in spirit.
Yep. There we go. And Sherry Richards. We have Sherry Richards said Hayden. Okay. I think that's all we have. Other people are just having a discussion. Yep. Yeah. And asking questions about other players and things like that. So that's what everyone thinks. Wait, got another one.
Got one last one. This is the
Liberty
last one.
Library. There's no dot. Com says Hayden. So,
yep.
And Brian Brown did say that Joe Hayden has said he'd retire before move to safety. I was wondering if that was free safety. I don't know if that was strong safety or not. Russ, that answer doesn't count because he wasn't on the roster last year. Just thought I'd say it.
And Russ had already answered anyway.
It's funny. And then Sherry's like, Schobert, really? LOL.
Hey, you just said Joe, Sherry. I mean, we did have two of them in the list.
I would assume Joe Hayden, but this was a lot of fun tonight going through this and seeing however I kept a little bit of an eye on the live chat as we were going. Like when I mentioned Marlon Mack, I wasn't sure where he signed. I saw it there and everything because I didn't want to get too much into the discussion because I wanted to see the answers at the end. I really did want to see the answers at the end. Okay. So with that, I already gave you the rundown of the podcast. Make sure you're checking them out because we really feel like we're trying to give something for everyone when it comes to Steelers fans. If you're someone who listens to podcasts just a little, you could be able to find some things in there that really fit you. If you're someone who wants to listen a lot, then guess what? We're also there for you because we've got a lot. 3 original shows per day, definitely during the week. And on the weekend, there might only be 5 instead of 6. I'm not sure how it all breaks down when they get published. We're live 6 out of 7 days. We're not, there's no YouTube/Facebook live show anymore on Saturdays right now because the Touchdown Under moved to Fridays. But to make up for it, you get 2 Friday and 2 on Sunday. So with the new We Run the North show, along with the Q&A that goes later, which is on the rotating thing, you never know who you're going to get for the Q&A. It's always a lot of fun. So with that, Rich, got to say it again. Happy birthday. I'm not singing again. That was a one-time deal. And I got to ask if there's anything else you want to say as closing thoughts to finish us up here tonight.
You know what? One thing I am going to bring up in my closing thoughts is we are now in the month of April.
Yeah.
The month of April is when things start getting exciting because the draft happens in the month of April. And once we get to the draft, I no longer have to look at those ridiculous mock draft things that go on. No offense, Andrew. You do a great job. I'm just not a mock draft guy. Never have been, probably never will be. So, but I'm tickled to death because this year I'm going up for Draft Fan Day on Saturday.
That's right.
April the 30th. I'm going and I'm taking one. I did not see that he made it in the live chat tonight. He told me he might based on his work schedule, but one Thaddeus Kennedy will be attending with me.
There you go. And if any of you out there think you might be attending, we'll have to make sure you can see if you can find Big Bro. Also, I want to say something because someone brought up the live chat. I kind of misspoke when I said about Schobert was the leading tackler for the Steelers. Yeah, I was talking about it at linebacker. Yes. I didn't say that. That's my fault. Thank you, Robert Doc Holiday 66 Sadler, for saying that. Yes, Minka was the leading tackler which is kind of sad. But I meant from the linebacker group, and I just didn't say that, so I apologize. So go ahead, Rich. Finish up.
BF Bud asked, where is Draft Fan Day? It's actually at the
Heinz
stadium.
Field.
It's at Heinz Field. It is for season ticket holders.
Season ticket holders get tickets to go, but anyone can get tickets to go.
Yes.
But season ticket holders have some special things that they can do when they're there. So they have some perks for them.
Yes, exactly. So I'm planning on going up there and hope to see some folks. I will be repping BTSC while there. I will be wearing the Big Bro Scho shirt while I'm there, of course. And like I said, now that I know that I have that scheduled and that the draft, we are in the month, which just means new Steelers to talk about and all that. I can't wait.